In this video, we are going to look at November 2018, Paper 1, Pure Maths, Grade 10 examination. So we're doing a past paper. This is only question number 1. The questions are on the screen, and then I am going to swipe in order for us to be able to answer question 1.1. Question 1.1.1 says factorize. So we're going to factorize 4x minus x cubed. Now, if I write this out in factors, this is 4 times x minus x times x times x. Obviously, at your level, you don't do this, but I just want to show you that I'm taking out a common factor, which is x and x. So if I take x out, then what I'm left with is, in this term, I have 4 left minus and x squared. And that is the answer to that question. 1.1.2, I have a trinomial. I know that my trinomial is going to give me 2 brackets. And my first term tells me that it's going to be x and x. Now I need to factorize 54. And I need to factorize 54 to get me 15. So I'm going to have, on the side, I have my thinking. So it's x times x, and I multiply that with factors of 54. So that's going to be 1 and 54. And then it's going to be 2 and 27. Say 54 divided by 3 does work. 3 and 18 divided by 4 doesn't work. 5 doesn't work. 6 works. So I have 6 and 9. 7 doesn't work. 8 doesn't work. And then 9 brings us back to 6. So 9 and 6. Now normally I would rewrite this and continue with 18 and 3. But because this is 1 and 1, it doesn't matter what's at the top or what's at the bottom. My apologies. Okay, so what you need to know is this is sort of our middle ground. I like to start in the middle and work my way towards the outside. Usually that's more common. So what are we going to do? We're going to look at 6 and 9. If I add 6 and 9, I am going to get 15. If I subtract 6 and 9, so it can be plus or minus 15. If I subtract 6 and 9, I am going to get 3, plus or minus 3. Now, I do want 15 in the middle, but I need a minus over here, which means one must be positive and one must be negative. So this 15, if it is minus 6 plus 9, it gives me positive 3. If it's plus 6 minus 9, it gives me negative 3. So that one doesn't work. So this 15 only works if it's the same sign. That's not it. Okay, so let's look at 3 and 18. If I add them, 18 plus 3 gives me 21. 18 minus 3 will give me 15. That looks like the 15 I want. If I say plus 3 minus 18, that's going to give me minus 15. If I say plus 18 minus 3, that's going to give me plus 15. That's what I want. So my factors are going to be x minus 3, x plus 18. And that's it. That is your answer for this question. Question 1.1.3, we're still factorizing. I've got 4 terms, so I'm going to group them in 2 groups. I'm going to take a green group, and I'm going to take a pink group. And in my green group, I noticed that y and y is common. So I'm going to take y out. That means what I'm left with is 1 minus x. And I'm going to add to that my pink group, which I'm not taking anything out, nothing's common. I have x minus 1. So this is starting to look similar in my first bracket I have 1 minus x. In my second one I have x minus 1. In order to make them look the same, I'm going to change the sign here. If I change this one to plus, that's plus. If I change this one to minus, that's minus. That would look the same. And if I change the sign in the second bracket, I have to change the sign outside. So when I change the sign, I make this one minus, I make that one minus x, and I make that one plus 1. When we use the change the sign rule, all three signs must change. So I'm going to say that this is equal to y, 1 minus x, minus x plus 1. Once I've done that, I am just going to switch it up. So I'm going to say y, 1 minus x. And in the second one, I keep the minus outside. And I write the second one as 1 minus x. Lovely. Now I have achieved my goal. I have two brackets that look the same. So I am now going to say this and this is common. I take it out, 1 minus x. And I am left with, in this term, 1. And in the first term, y. In the second term, minus 1. And that's your final answer. So this is how we answer question 1.1. Next up is 1.2. Question 1.2.1 says simplify the following expression. I have a binomial multiplied by a trinomial. So what I'm going to do is I am going to multiply the first set by x. So I'm going to say x times x squared plus x times negative x plus x times 3. So it's this times that, and that. Now I'm going to do the second one, the 2x, and I'm going to say plus 2 times x squared plus 2 times negative x plus 2 times 3. And then I multiply that out. So that becomes x cubed minus x squared plus 3x plus 2x squared minus 2x plus 6. Now I'm going to add them up and I'm going to say x cubed stays the same. Please notice now my columns are the same. So the first one is 2x squared minus x squared, that is 1x squared. 3x minus 2x, that is 1x plus 6. And that is my final answer. All right, in this question, we have a fraction, 5 over x plus 3, all of that minus 3 over 2 minus x. Now, because we have fractions, we want to get the lowest common denominator. I am going to say that the lowest common denominator is going to be a combination of both, right? It's going to be x plus 3 multiplied by 2 minus x. That means that since I have x plus 3 here, I must multiply this by 2 minus x as a numerator. So this becomes 5 times 2 minus x. And on the right hand side, since I have 2 minus x, I must multiply it by x plus 3, x plus 3 over 1. So it becomes minus 3, x plus 3 as a numerator. This is awesome. Now I'm going to simplify my numerator. 5 times 2 is 10, minus 5x, minus 3x, minus 9. All of this divided by x plus 3, 2 minus x. Now I simplify further and I say 10 minus 9 is 1, minus 5x minus 3x is minus 8. Now normally we write our variables before the constant, so I'm going to say minus 8x plus 1 divided by x plus 3, 2 minus x. And that's your final answer. Okay. Question 1.2.3 has to do with exponents as variables. So the first thing we want to do is we want to convert our bases into prime factors. So this means that I'm going to keep my exponents the same, but I want to convert the bases. 25 factorial is going to be 5 times 5. So that gives me 5 to the exponent of 5, and I put that in brackets. And then my negative x stays on the outside of the bracket untouched. And I multiply this by 15. 15 is 3 times 5 in brackets. On the outside, x plus 1 stays untouched. At the bottom, I have 3x untouched times 5 minus x untouched. Okay, now that I have my same base, or my prime factor bases, I can see my bases are either 5 or 3. So now I can start. I'm going to start with a base of 3. No. Before I do that, I want to multiply out my exponents. So these are going to be multiplied with each other. This one must be multiplied there, and the same for this one there and there. So let's have a look. I am going to say 5 to the power of negative 5x. Let's write that properly. Negative 5x multiplied by 3 to the power of x plus 1 multiplied by 5 to the power of x plus 1. Divide that by 3 to the power of x multiplied by 5 to the power of negative x. Now I can write my common bases. I'm going to start with a base of 3. And then as a numerator, I am going to write it as x plus 1. Now my denominator, I am going to write my denominator in this line, means I'm going to subtract. If it's multiplication, I add exponents. If I divide, I subtract. So I'm going to subtract this, which is x. I put that in brackets just so that I don't make mistakes with negatives. Those are all my 3's. It's that one and that one. My 3's are done. Now let's look at the 5. So I multiply that by 5. And that becomes 5 minus 5x. 5x. Because it's multiplication, I'm going to add x plus 1. And then I'm going to subtract negative x. Because this is negative x, I put it in brackets. Okay, let's simplify. So this is equal to 3x minus x plus 1 times 5 minus 5x plus x. Hold on, I just want to confirm something. There's a mistake. This should be a 2. It's squared, right? So this is 2, and this is minus 2x, which means that this should be a 2 as well. It's not 5 to the power of 5, it's 5 to the power of 2. And this one should also be minus 2x. Okay, so minus 2x plus x, and this one becomes plus x plus 1. Now I'm going to eliminate. X minus x is 0. 2x minus 2x is 0. So what do I have? I have 3 to the power of 1 multiplied by 5 to the power of 1, which is 3 times 5, which is 15. And that's my final answer. Okay, so this is how we answer question 1.2. 1.2.1, 1.2.2, 1.2.3. Lastly, we're going to do 1.3. All right, the question of 1.3 is giving us a statement or an expression, and it gives us 2 equations. So the first expression that it gives us is saying 3p plus q squared is what we need to solve. The next thing it tells us is that's a statement and that's a statement. Let's deal with our square bracket first. When we square a bracket, we are going to use either the FOIL method or the T method, but I'm going to say term 1 squared, which is going to be 3 squared is 9, p squared. And then I'm going to say term 1 times term 2 is 3pq, and 2 of those is going to be 6pq, not squared, 6pq. And term 2 squared is going to be q squared. Just a reminder, what did I do? I said term 1 squared plus 2 times term 1 times term 2 plus term 2 squared. This is the formula I used. If you use FOIL, that would also work. But this one is shorter, quicker, faster. Now that I have this, I am going to look at a couple of things. First thing, I have a statement here that says 9p squared and q squared is 12. I have 9p squared and I have q squared. So if I say 9p squared plus q squared, I can change this to just 12 because it tells me it's 12 in the statement. The second thing it says is pq equals -3. I have pq here. I have 6 of them, but I have pq. So I'm going to say plus 6pq. So this is just a rearrange. This and this is exactly the same. I'm just putting it in the order of green pieces together, pink pieces together. Now I'm going to redo this and I'm going to say 6 times -3 because pq is -3. Now I can solve and I can say this gives me 12. Plus times minus is minus. 6 times 3 is 18. And 12 minus 18 is going to give me -6 as a final answer. And this is how we do question 1.3. So this is the end of question 1. See you in the next video for question 2. Please like and subscribe, and all the best for your exams.